and welcome to Inner Circle Guidance. Today we're going to be doing a collective reading, but for those of you who are new to the circle, hello and welcome. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I post new videos every single day. And if you're looking for daily short tarot readings, check out my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. If you're looking for personal services or personal readings, I offer it through my website, innercircleguidance.com. Let's find out what the circle needs to know today. We have the Nine of Cups. We have the World. Wow. We have the Eight of Wands. We have the Five of Cups. We have the Moon. We have the Nine of Swords on the bottom of the deck. And I did see the Seven of Cups, so I will take that as well. Okay, so we have some big energy coming in here very shortly. The waiting period, the pause, the transition is starting to close out. I'm seeing for a lot of you. Some of you that's already happened, but you still have some new energy that is going to be coming and rushing in here very soon. Okay, so with the Nine of Cups, you're working heavily on your manifestations and getting clear at this time, which is really great because you have these new chapters coming in, this new energy. With the World, these are things that they're not little things. They're like major things that you've been trying to manifest for a long time, or just big manifestations in general. These are like major new chapters in the story, the ones that end up pivoting the story in a completely different direction or give you completely different information about the story. That's the kind of level we're talking about here. And I'm seeing with this Eight of Wands, it's all going to be coming in very shortly. But you're being kind of warned because there's going to be some things brought to the surface, some emotions brought to the surface, specifically about the past, worry for your future that's going to be coming up around the moon phases. So that could be the Aries eclipse that's coming up, or that could be just the new moon and the full moon cycles. There's some hidden energy here. I'm seeing that this is some energy that needs some healing, but there may also be some energy that's coming up shortly here that's going to make you nervous or uncomfortable or put you out of your comfort zone a little bit, but it's all to bring in these positive things. But in order to grow, growing's a little bit uncomfortable. Oftentimes, if you even think back to when you were a child and you're thinking about growth pains and the achiness in your legs and in your feet and how you kind of were overly tired and you felt like you could never eat enough food, it's uncomfortable, right? Any sort of growth is going to be a little uncomfortable because in order to grow, you have to go where you haven't been before. That's pretty much the definition of growth, right? And so with this Nine of Swords and the Seven of Cups, this goes back to illusions. So remember that the Nine of Swords is about worry, anxiety, not being able to sleep, feeling overwhelmed, feeling pressured. And it's all typically a card that indicates that all of that emotion is just overtaking you and making things feel worse than they actually are. And then with the Seven of Cups, it's the duality card. It's the card of window shopping, or it's the card of illusion. And so you're having to balance that fine line between faith and faith in the unknown and feeling at peace and settled with where you're at. And what I'm really hearing here is that worrying is a huge misuse of imagination. It's a waste of energy. It puts your body physically and mentally through things that aren't even necessarily happening, but it puts your body and your mind through it as if it is. And if that thing were to actually happen, you're then actually putting yourself through that entire cycle multiple times. And so I'm going to teach you a way to reroute your brain here. And this is something that's really cool about the human mind. The human brain can only do certain things simultaneously at the same time. It can only feel certain things at the same time. That being said, when you start feeling anxious or worried, start listing off the things that you're grateful for. And at first that might feel kind of hard to do because when you're in an anxious and a worried state, it puts your brain in this kind of like survival mode. And so list really easy things. You have a house and a roof over your head, be grateful for that. You have a wonderful mom that you love, be grateful for that. The fact that your heart is beating and you don't have to think and make your heart beat for yourself. The fact that you can breathe air. Think about things that are really, really basic. The fact that you can walk, if you're able to walk freely. Those types of things, if you have a car, be grateful for that. You have a dog that loves you. I think you get the point. But start listing those things, because what happens is your brain can't be anxious and worried and also be grateful at the same time, because they're two separate opposite emotions. Like, you can't be extremely happy and joyful and laughing and also be really angry and sad at the same time. You, at least in the extremes of it, right? So what you do is you trick your brain into, when you start getting into that gratitude state, it changes the chemistry in your brain and it starts putting in dopamine and it starts putting in happy chemicals in your brain that flip the switch on you. Make sure that you're giving yourself time to feel through the emotions that are going to come up, because they're going to be important, but don't let them overpower you. And so you're being asked to remember that whatever you end up watering is what's going to end up growing. And so whatever you end up nurturing is going to end up growing. So if you nurture that anxiety and that worry and that fear, you start telling yourself and tricking yourself and letting your saboteur trick you into saying you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not kind enough, whatever it is. Your manifestations that are coming in are going to start getting blocked. Because it's the same thing as your brain not being able to be ecstatically happy and joyful and angry and sad at the same time. Your brain can't be anxious and worried and grateful at the same time. You can't manifest your 10 of Pentacles and doom and gloom and terrible things at the same time. In terms of whichever side has more energy given to it and is nurtured more is what's going to present itself more. And so make sure you're leaning into the positive. And that doesn't mean false positivity, okay? There is a fine line between that. But make sure you're not allowing these illusions and your saboteur to trick you into thinking that you're not as worthy or as valuable as you are. Don't allow your fear and your worry keep you from moving forward. And part of this really is a test. Oftentimes when we are on the precipice of changing our lives for the better, stepping into a major chapter that's going to shift our timeline, we start getting anxious and worried and nervous because we know we're going to have to step into the unknown. Remember what I said about growth. Growth only happens when you grow by stepping into the unknown, by doing things you haven't done before. And it's going to be a little uncomfortable. Spirit sends you tests to make sure that this is what you really want. And it's not really so much of a test as it is a confirmation. It's almost like a nudge or a flick saying, hey, are you sure this is what you want? Because I'll give it to you, but are you sure it's what you want? So when you get those little nudges, instead of getting worried and anxious and going, oh my gosh, I have to public speak, or oh my gosh, how do I keep my success? Or oh my gosh, how do I this or that or whatever? Be open and receiving with gratitude and communicate to the universe that, yes, this is what I want and I'm willing to step out into the unknown. I think I'm going to leave the reading here because I feel like that's a lot to digest, and it's also sometimes a lot easier said than done. And so take some time today to be grateful, because the more grateful you are for the blessings, for the guidance that Spirit sends you, the more it's going to come in, and you know that these new things are going to be coming in. And so being in a grateful state for what is coming is also a good way to keep it coming to you. And so your affirmation for this reading, actually I want to make one more point. Remember what I said about worrying and anxiety being a misuse of imagination? I said it was a misuse of energy, but I don't think I actually went into that. It's a waste of energy because the amount of energy that you are putting into thinking up all the things that could go wrong instead of thinking of all the ways things could go right, or all the ways you could be pleasantly surprised, or all the ways that you could be fulfilled, is a waste of your energy, because it's not giving anything back to you. It's not reciprocal, at least not in a positive way. If you were to sit in that long enough, then it would be reciprocal in the sense that you would be starting to attract those negative things to you. But start trying to flip the switch when that happens. And so your affirmation for this reading is, I'm not allowing my anxieties and worries to get in the way of my manifestations. I am getting out of the way of myself and maintaining that. And so if this reading resonates with you, don't forget to like this video. And as always, may your life be full of light, full of love, abundance, and gratitude. I'll see you next time.